So here's some reasons I think Chris Eubank Jr. is going to beat George Groves. I don't think stylistically this fight suits George Groves. George Groves likes time and space to operate. He likes time and space, and he likes to use his jab, and he likes to use his jab to set up the right hand, and he likes to do it from range, and he likes distance. When an opponent closes him down, gets his back up against the ropes, he's very uncomfortable. He's very uncomfortable with pressure. And Chris Eubank Jr.'s style is all about closing the range. Chris Eubank Jr. does not like to stand a distance away from his opponent and throw a jab and use his jab to hurt his opponents. No, Chris Eubank Jr. likes to close the distance and work uppercuts and short, snappy shots. Now, George Groves, whenever an opponent closes the space and gets on the inside on him, he looks very uncomfortable. I mean, this opponent here, Dennis Duglin, excuse me if I didn't pronounce his name correctly. Dennis Duglin used to, the year before he fought George Groves, Dennis Duglin had a fight at 150, where he weighed 157 pounds. I think that might be super welterweight. Chris Eubank Jr. is possibly a small medium super middleweight. But this opponent here, who was pushing George Groves backwards and basically bullying George Groves a bit. I know that George Groves found the shot to hurt him, but at the moment, or at this point, Dennis Duglin was bullying George Groves. This guy, the year before facing George Groves, had a fight at 157 pounds. Now, excuse me if this is a bit slow, but you watch here. This guy who had fought 157 pounds is bullying someone that is struggling to make 167 pounds. Yeah, this is a guy that was operating at 157 pounds, and he was applying the pressure, pushing George Groves backwards, and one could argue that that was in 2014. Yeah, you see how George Groves likes to get in and get out. And again, excuse me if this is a bit slow. So I'm going to close that one down. Now, one might argue that that was in 2014. Okay, cool. Let's fast forward to George Groves' last fight, and let's have a look at what's happening here. And both of these opponents have not got the punch selection of Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr., when Chris Eubank Jr. gets George Groves up against the ropes, his punch selection is going to be far superior to Jamie Cox and Dennis Duglin. But you see what happens whenever George Groves gets put under pressure. And George Groves is punching not to get on the inside. He's punching to get the opponent off him. He's not punching. He's not saying, fuck it, let's get in the middle of the ring and have a scrap. He's punching to get them off. He's punching to get him to back off so he can have his time and space. He doesn't like fighting close up, George Groves. Now, in contrast, look at Chris Eubank Jr.'s style, and you tell me if you think that this is going to stylistically suit George Groves. You tell me if you think George Groves is going to enjoy this. Yeah, you think George Groves is going to like all of this? As George Groves gets more and more tired, expect this to happen more and more in the fight. Yeah? See the punch selection of Eubank Jr.? And Eubank Jr. is bigger than Dennis Duglin, I think. Possibly bigger than Duglin. Right, do you think that George Groves is going to enjoy that work? I don't. And stylistically, styles can have an impact on how the fight goes, and I don't see George Groves being comfortable in this fight. George Groves is more comfortable when he's able to have time and space and operate at a distance.